Greetings, family. We are so happy that you have joined us for this important conversation, this ongoing discussion we are having at the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference with our constituents who live in the state of Illinois about the Clean Energy Jobs Act. Now, as you know, the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference, we have a mission to nurture and sustain and mobilize the African American faith community, specifically to address critical needs of human rights and social justice within the local, national, and global communities. We want to engage you in this conversation because we want our communities a part of the conversation about clean energy jobs in the state of Illinois. And what we know is that communities of color are hit first and hit the worst when it comes to these multiple pandemics, right? So the poverty pandemic, the police pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, and the environmental crisis that we are facing now. We know that our communities are hit first and hit the worst. So that is why we are here. That's why we're having the series of discussions, because we want you to know about money-saving jobs, about sustainable jobs that'll give you a living wage, that'll help you be on the cutting edge of this transition that our state is making to a green economy. And we want to make sure that our state's transition to a green economy is an equitable transition. We want your voices to be at the table. We want to hear your questions, your insight. We want you all to know about the Clean Energy Jobs Act and resources that will help save our communities during this time. So why this issue matters, I think a lot of us already know, especially if you're tuned in, you're interested in the clean energy movement. But what we know is that as temperatures, even in our own state, winter temperatures are rising. They're rising across the country. And these increases are happening even more so around the Great Lakes region. So now in our state, the daily temperatures in the winter season over the last 30 years have increased 2.5 degrees. So just 3 weeks ago, we know here in the Chicago area, our temperatures hit 52 at O'Hare, and that's in December. So the starkest winter increase is the amount of increase that's happening that they're seeing overnight, where the minimum temperatures are increasing 3 degrees. So what does that matter? Well, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has said that there is a 95% probability that human activities over the past 50 years have warmed our planet. We have played a role, and this matters with flooding, this matters with all sorts of environmental degradation. This matters on the larger global scale because, as you see this picture here, is of our Bahamian sisters and brothers, the storms that they have endured over this past year, the worst ever to hit the country. These are all tied together. These all are connected. And what they're telling us, what the scientists are telling us, is that we can either mitigate these issues, we can adapt, or we can suffer. And so the Clean Energy Jobs Act was made with this idea of adapting and mitigating. The Clean Energy Jobs Act would improve air quality, which reduces our risks and susceptibility to COVID-19, and it would put people back to work, especially in communities of color. So this matters so much to us in particular because we know that communities of color get hit the first and get hit the worst. So these multiple pandemics we're thinking about, these issues of warming temperatures, even here in our own state, we're thinking about, in the global ties to this whole issue, it's very serious. And what we know is that we can do something about it. And our state is doing something about it. And we want you to know the benefits of each pillar and the Clean Energy Jobs Act. So the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition came about to build on the gains, the successes of the Future Energy Jobs Act. And this coalition's goal was to push state lawmakers to strengthen state standards for renewable energy and efficiency. So a move advocates say would spark more than 30,000 new jobs in our state each year, again, to mitigate and adapt, to end what we're doing to contribute to the warming of our environment, to end what we're doing to contribute to the global catastrophic storms that are taking our Earth by storm, and to mitigate that and adapt with these new jobs that'll keep us on the future, keep us on the edge, rather, of bettering our communities, bettering ourselves, bettering our sisters and brothers in a global sense. So this bill is so important, the Clean Energy Jobs Act. And a lot of us don't know that it's happening in our state, that it's been proposed. A lot of us don't know what's going on. So what we really want to do now is just talk about the 4 policy pillars that the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition has put forth, is advocating for clean energy. The first 2 we want to talk about today, and I want to hear back from you. So please drop any questions or comments you have in the comment section. I'll share my email address at the end so we can email and discuss. I'd be happy to call and reach out. We want this to be a conversation. So the first policy pillar is promoting jobs, equity, and economic opportunity, especially in communities of color. And the second policy pillar is ensuring Illinois reaches 100% renewable energy by 2050. So let's take a look at those 2 alone a little bit closer. So pillar 1, promoting jobs, equity, and economic opportunity, especially in communities of color. This bill is advocating for creating a clean jobs workforce hubs, which is a network of frontline organizations that provide direct and sustained support for minority and disadvantaged communities, including job opportunities. So what are these clean job workforce hubs? What does this really mean? Well, this means $26 million a year funded just to create these job workforce hubs, which would include education, which would include workforce training, and which would include career placement. And where would these hubs be around our state? Well, they really want them in economically disadvantaged communities, environmental justice communities, communities of color. And these communities include neighborhoods on the south side of Chicago and neighborhoods on the southwest side of Chicago. So this Clean Energy Jobs Act, this Pillar 1, this section of Pillar 1 really has equity at the center, really has justice at the center. They want to include us, our communities, our neighborhoods, those that have been left behind as states transition to green economies. They want to put them at the center with creating job workforce hubs in communities that so greatly need it. The second point in Pillar 1 is this advocates for creating contractor incubator programs that focus on the development of underserved businesses in the clean energy sector. So this would support entrepreneurship in minority-owned clean energy businesses. So what does this mean? We know that innovators and entrepreneurs help drive our economic growth, our country's economic growth and competitiveness through job creation and technology development. But what we also know is that many innovators and entrepreneurs, especially now during COVID, face challenges in gathering resources that they need. So this incubator program would help with those early stage minority-owned entrepreneur companies that would need things like lab or office space, would help develop their business models, would connect them to resources that they need to get started and off the ground. So this will play a pivotal role in strengthening our economy and strengthening our entrepreneurial communities, especially among African Americans in our city. So this point on this first pillar of the Clean Energy Jobs Act is so very important that our communities know about it, that we're connecting with entrepreneurs who are interested in clean energy, who are interested in bettering our communities and the environments we live in, to connect them to these incubator programs and so that they know that they're there, which is very, very important. And the last point on Pillar 1 is that it would prioritize companies that implement equity actions to ensure equitable representation in Illinois' clean energy workforce. That's so very important, because what we know is that there are many suggestions what companies should do, and we're not really seeing that happen in the representation of African Americans. So this pillar, let me just go back to it really quick. This point includes in the bill, includes in the Clean Energy Jobs Act, that companies will have to prioritize equity actions, implement equity actions to ensure that there would be diverse representation in the clean energy workforce. So that's really important language, a really important language that's a part of this. That's part of this act. So Pillar 2, ensuring Illinois reaches 100% renewable energy by 2050. And this includes building more than 40 million solar panels, 2,500 wind turbines across the state by 2030, generating more than $30 billion in new infrastructure for the state. So this would tap into the falling cost of wind and solar, and this would ultimately, which is very good news, lower costs for customers. So the first point in this pillar is for it to expand solar for all and ensure that all people have access to solar in their community. So the Solar for All program, this was just released. This was an article promoted by Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition on their Twitter page. This was an article that was done on December 30th, just a few weeks ago, about the Solar for All program that's happening in McLean County, which is, I believe, in Bloomington, which has Bloomington, Illinois, and things like that. So this program is helping a lot of people there, a lot of communities there tap into the Solar for All program. And according to the study of the wind and solar energy's economic impact, McLean County in Illinois is a top renewable energy producer in the state. So what they're saying is folks who go solar, whether it's business or a church or an individual, they get paid through this Solar for All program. They get paid a cash incentive, and it's equivalent to 20 to 30% of the system cost for the renewable energy that the system produces. And that's the primary mechanism, is that the state is using all of us to get 25% renewable energy by 2025, or by 2030. So that's not only driving the state's solar growth, but also the job-related growth. And it has been an economic boom in other areas. So what the Clean Energy Jobs Act wants to make sure is that this is an equitable transition to a green economy. So as McLean County is doing so successfully in their Solar for All program, they want to make sure that these policies and programs that are generating money, that are saving churches and communities money, that are creating jobs, that are all of these resources, right? They want to make sure that minority, African American communities have access to these programs and know about these programs, and have resources that connect them to these programs if they're interested. So this is just an example. The Clean Energy Jobs Act wants policies and programs that can be specifically designed to bring access and benefits of renewable energy, such as wind and solar, to vulnerable and overburdened communities. So there you see a good illustration of what that could look like. So also in Pillar 2, expanding goals for energy efficiency to lower cost and direct utilities to evaluate lower cost alternative to modernizing infrastructure. So this energy efficiency point in helping our state reach 100% renewable energy by 2050. Energy efficiency means measures that reduce the amount of energy required to achieve a given end use. So why is that important? It's because here's what we know. The climate crisis produces an unparalleled opportunity to transition our current energy system, which is largely reliant on expensive and polluting fossil fuels, to clean, affordable, and renewable energy. It's so important that I highlight that point. Affordable renewable energy. A lot of people think, a lot of the myths are that this is just not affordable. There's solar energy, solar panels, getting wind turbines. This is not affordable. And what the Clean Energy Jobs Act wants you to know, what the Illinois Jobs Coalition wants you to know, is that this is very much affordable and available in our state. And so what we're pushing for is for our state representatives, our legislators, to be on board with this so that we can really all benefit from this act. And the last point in the clean energy, in this pillar 2, the following utility, so ensuring Illinois reaches 100% renewable energy by 2050. So this is just to let you know that the following utility energy efficiency programs have incentives specifically for public sector facilities or include public sector facilities in their commercial incentive programs. So these are just a list from a quick Google search of companies that have incentives for public sector facilities to invest in energy efficiency programs. And so a public facility includes a church or a place of worship. So there are programs out there to save money, to save you money as our states transition to this green economy, which includes things like free energy audits, which includes things like churches being eligible for an energy efficiency upgrade that will save you money. So CEJA wants to expand on those programs. The Clean Energy Jobs Act wants to expand on those programs that include customer savings, to include customer savings. So Illinois can expand gas efficiency programs and ensure electric efficiency programs, generating substantial consumer savings and billions in economic activity. So again, the Clean Energy Jobs Act has equity and access at its core. It advocates for gas and utility companies to prioritize low-income families, programs for low-income single-family and multi-family households and residential customers. So the Clean Energy Jobs Act is also advocating for at least 70% of these programs, these gas efficiency programs, to be targeted at low-income, low-income or low-income residential customers. So this is just very simply, I just wanted to go over those 2 pillars with you today to really underscore why CEJA can't wait, why the Clean Energy Jobs Act can't wait. We will benefit from this clean energy future. We will benefit from these programs and these resources. And some of the ways we will benefit is our wellness. A clean energy future in our state is essential to our communities to ensure that we have a chance at surviving and thriving while we continue to sustain our communities during the multiple pandemics we face. For representation, As Illinois makes this transition to a green economy, you, pastors, clergy, lay leaders, persons of faith, are the trusted messengers. You can share this information with those you know and love. You can share this information with your community as a trusted messenger, a trusted voice that can most effectively bring these important conversations to our congregations. For sustainable careers, considering COVID-19, racism, health disparities, we know that our communities are more vulnerable than ever. We need jobs that will be sustainable and make sense for our future. For economic relief, we need holistic justice embodied in policy, such as CEJA, Clean Energy Jobs Act, that will ease the burden of maintaining our livelihoods by promoting smaller bills and cleaner air. So again, we will benefit from the pillars, the Illinois Clean Jobs Coalition policy pillars. We went over the first two today in a little bit more detail, but we know that these pillars give us access to lower cost energy alternatives. They add to community restoration. They have equity at its core. We talked about solar for all, environmental efficiency for all, wellness, and wellness for our communities. This is future minded. The Clean Energy Jobs Act is future minded with 2030 and 2050 benchmarks. And they include training, they include career placement, they include clean jobs, workforce hubs, and that lead to sustainable, well-paying jobs. So we need your help in this. In having these types of conversations and discussions. We ask that you talk about these two policy pillars with your families, with your friends who live in the state, with your communities, within your churches, to give voice to the benefits and that are important to your community that we must take advantage of. We want you to have your own conversation, and we want to hear from you. We want your feedback on what you think is most important. We want to hear where you feel the gaps are. We want to hear from you about what benefits you think are more important for your communities as it relates to clean energy. So we want to have these conversations and we want to hear from you. So again, you can find us on sdpconference.info is our website. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But most importantly, you can email me at tiauna@sdpconference.info. I'd be happy to set up a phone conversation with you. I'd be happy to have this conversation with your church community. If this is information you feel that they would be benefited to be connected to. So please be in touch with us. Often when these conversations are being had about clean energy and climate science, communities of color are left out. So we're grateful. The Proctor Conference is grateful to be a part of this work and to make sure we're represented. And so we extend that to you. We're not just a part of this, you are also a part of it as our family in Illinois, as our viewers, as our network here. We all want to have this conversation together. So please email me and let me know how we can work together to continue this conversation about the Clean Energy Jobs Act in our state. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.